Can't believe it took me a year to watch this. 1917. It came out of January, I believe, last year. Yeah, it took me a year, but I finally watched it, and in my opinion, it is almost, it's nearly there. Technical masterpiece. So this isn't your typical war film at all. It wasn't the film that I was expecting. I was expecting it to be a bog standard war film, but obviously this is completely different. It's just following these two soldiers, looking into their characters and just their kind of character development and their relationship as well, as they talk to each other, as we follow their relationship and follow their journey along. But obviously there are a few big action pieces as well. This whole film was shot none other by magnificent Roger Deakins. Basically it's edited as if it is a continuous shot all the way along. You can't really complain about any of the shots in this film at all. It just looks amazing. It looks really, really awesome, and just technically it's spot on basically. I think obviously the most iconic scene for everyone was when the lone Corporal Schofield was running along the top of the trench horrendously through, while you've got his allies who are just like trying to bombard, and they're getting bombarded by the enemy army. And that whole scene was just, I don't know how they coordinated that, don't know how they pulled it off, I don't know how many reshoots they must have taken, but it was just magnificently done. So the biggest theme for me is the theme of sacrifice. It may seem like an obvious theme to go with, may seem like an obvious theme to engage with. Sacrifice is kind of part and parcel of what a war film is. I felt this film, 1917, put a different spin on the term of sacrifice. When I talk about a sacrifice, obviously the context I'm talking about is laying your life down for another person. In this, obviously, we just follow two troops. Eventually it becomes the one soldier because of the other one that dies pretty early on in the film. I think it was within the first hour of the film, which actually came as a surprise to me, but my wife spotted it a mile away. At first I wasn't sure why they went down the route they did with that soldier getting stabbed by the German soldier, but then after having a conversation with my wife and just thinking about it, it really kind of ties into what we're talking about with the term of sacrifice. Both these soldiers were willing to do anything for anyone. Yeah, reflected upon how even after the German soldier was participating in that dogfight up in the air, but that even though he crashed, that these two guys were basically running to his aid. They were willing to help him, going to go and get some water, get some bandages, but obviously, unfortunately, that led to one of their demises. Unfortunately, that kind of comes part and parcel of sacrifice. When you sacrifice something, when you're willing to go and help someone in need, you're not necessarily thinking about the consequences to yourself, but you're actually putting your selfishness aside, your own ego aside. You're putting everything aside. You're putting your own life on the line to help someone, whether they are your friend or whether they are your enemy. And this was really reflected with these two soldiers, that they were willing to go this far. It shows their heart, it shows their innocence. People might say, oh, they were really stupid, like I did. I thought they were stupid to pull that German soldier out of the plane, but actually what they saw, they didn't see him as an enemy, but they saw him as just a human individual who was worthy of saving. He's a worthy human life, and they were willing to do anything to run to his aid to help him, no matter what the consequences might have been. This is what the Christian message, this is what the message of Jesus is all about. It's all about sacrifice. In the Bible it says there is no greater love than this, to lay your life down for one's friend. 1917 does show this, but just to a greater degree. It wasn't just to a friend, it was to 1600 comrades. However, Jesus, I believe, went much further. He went much further. Those 2,000 years ago or so, the reason I'm drawn to him is that when he died on the cross, he didn't just sacrifice his life for his friends and his family at that time, but he sacrificed his life for me, for you, for the whole world. And that includes the people that hated him those 2,000 years ago, and that includes the people that hate him today, and even the people that would consider him a nice guy but wouldn't consider him worthy of following, wouldn't consider him worthy of being in a relationship with, or calling him Lord, or calling him Savior, or whatever you want to say. He was willing to die for everyone, including all of these people. He would have been willing to die for the enemies that these British soldiers were fighting in 1917. I think it just shows the extent of the sacrifice that Jesus was willing to make, and actually followed through with that as well. Yes, he experienced pain, he experienced suffering as well, but that comes with the price of sacrifice, of the heart of sacrifice, of the mind of sacrifice. And again, 1917 does reflect this, however so slightly, but Jesus obviously fully reflects that, because he incorporates, he inhabits the nature of sacrifice. He is the representation of what sacrifice and what love is supposed to be all about. What can we actually take away from this? Well, I just wonder, how willing are you to put your life down, not just for your friend, not just for your family, but actually for someone that you consider that you don't get along with, who might not consider you enemy as such. I don't think many of us would consider anyone enemies, but someone that you wouldn't really consider even talking to or spending time with, apart from your friends or your family. Would you consider putting your life down if you had to, voluntarily, not being ordered to, or anything like that, putting your life down on the line for their life, basically, if something was to happen? I think COVID this whole year has just shown us that we don't have time to make enemies. We don't have time to not get along with people. The time that we have together is crucial, it is vital, and we must stick together. We must play as a team. We must find ways to love and to sacrifice to one another. It's a reciprocal relationship, and Jesus does show this. And if we follow him, if we kind of surrender our lives to him, then he will actually show us what it means to sacrifice, what it means to love. Because I've seen in my personal life that to do it apart from Jesus is really difficult. It is really hard. I'm not saying being with Jesus makes it any easier, but he does give you the strength to do it, because he perfectly, like I said before, he perfectly inhabits the sacrificial nature, is the representation of love as well. What we need in this time, in this day, is that we need deep, radical, sacrificial love. We need that towards everyone, including, like I say, including those who we don't actually necessarily get along with at the moment, but actually maybe we need to commit ourselves, figuring out ways. Maybe it's not just sacrificing your life as such, but maybe sacrificing your time, sacrificing your resources. Again, this is all personal to me as well. So I would encourage you that if you don't know who Jesus is, that you spend your time to get to know who Jesus is, find out who the person of Jesus is, why he did sacrifice, what sacrifice meant to him, what it actually means to sacrifice for an enemy, to sacrifice for a friend or a family member, whatever it means, and what he calls us all to do, and how to sacrifice and how to love. So I would love to know what your thoughts were of 1917. What were your favourite moments? What were your favourite scenes of the whole film? Also, I would love to know what you thought about this whole topic, about the topic of sacrifice. Do you agree or do you disagree with me? Again, I would love to engage with the comments below. Where have you last sacrificed as well? Where do you find it difficult to sacrifice and to love someone who you don't get along with as well? I'd love to have this conversation with you in the comments below in this video. But also, don't forget, you can message me on Instagram or on the Facebook page as well. Again, all the links are in the video below as well. Pray that God will protect you, that he will comfort you, he will keep you safe during this time that we're still going through this pandemic. Would he help you engage with the culture? Would he challenge you and provoke you, help you just engage through films and TV, and connect you with Jesus?